Hi guys, I'm Danny Flexen, just here with the latest fight review from SecondsOut, going from the Matchroom show in Milton Keynes, obviously behind closed doors, on Sky Sports tonight. Just finished watching it, didn't even wait for the post-fight interviews because I wanted to get this out. We saw Joshua Buatsi go to 13-0 against the previously fellow unbeaten, obviously not unbeaten anymore, Marko Calic of Croatia. Um, it looked like it'd be fairly straightforward for Buatsi on paper because although Calic was a long time successful amateur, he fought in the unpaid code a lot longer than Buatsi and didn't achieve anything like the same level of success. He'd also mixed in less, impressive opposition as a pro. So yeah, on paper it looked like Buatsi would have it all his own way, but it didn't turn out like that. Calic actually gave it a really good account of himself, and it looked like Buatsi might be in trouble early on. Calic had very fast hands. He looked a lot bigger than Buatsi, taller, rangier. And despite getting hit a number of times in the first round with that ramrod, Freudian slip there, ramrod Buatsi jab, he came back well with his fast combinations, right hand especially, found the gaps, caused a big mouse under Buatsi's left eye quite early on in the fight, which clearly bothered the Londoner. And then as the fight progressed, Buatsi wisely started to mix his shots up a bit more, target the body, slow down his faster opponent, and he was very well tucked up, the Croatian, as well. It was hard for Buatsi to consistently land clean to the head, so he switched to the body, which proved a wise move, and he broke through. I think it was the fifth round. He started to have real success and put him under serious pressure. And then in the seventh, he really came through with some sustained pressure, and the Croatian was either knocked down or took a knee, depending on how you look at it. He was under serious stick against the ropes where he took a count, got up, was forced against the ropes again, and as the referee took a close look, he saw in his peripheral vision Calic's corner man with the white towel in hand, ready to gesture his man's surrender, and the referee, having spotted this, decided to wave the show off, which was a fair enough decision in my view. I think the corner know him better than anyone else and thought he'd had enough. But it did look for a couple of rounds like Calic posed a serious threat to Buatsi's progress towards those world title fights. You know, he's highly ranked as a light heavyweight by most of the major governing bodies, and yeah, he'd not been in the ring for over a year. Calic's inactivity was slightly less, but still ring rust on both of their parts, so no excuses there. And Buatsi did look bothered by Calic's style early on. You know, fast hands, fast feet, in and out movement, never threw kind of single shots, always twos and threes or more. And maybe that's a blueprint. Maybe that's something we know. But again, he couldn't sustain it. Buatsi switched tactics, adapted, and took over. And he's a thinking fighter. Clever guy. He was advised by his corner between rounds not to hold his feet so much, to be more in and out. And it worked out for him. So fair play, onwards and upwards. He'll want to be more active. He said before this fight he'd like to be out again before the end of the year. Potentially take a Callum Johnson fight. He said, I don't expect that to happen necessarily this year. But if he can get back out before the end of 2020, I think that will really benefit him. Elsewhere on the show, a little but significant piece of history was made by Chantelle Cameron, who became Northampton's first ever world boxing champion of either gender, when she won the vacant WBC super lightweight title against, it's got to be said, a disappointing opponent in Adriana. I think they said Arroyo on Sky, but I thought it was Arrojo. However you pronounce it, though, there's no question that she did not come in the requisite shape you would expect of a world title challenger, despite being an Olympic bronze medalist back in 2012, and unbeaten coming into the fight, although only 6 pro fights compared to Cameron's 12. She just, for most of the fight, looked like she was plodding through quicksand, very, very slow on her feet, didn't throw punches in bunches until the very last round of a 10-2s. Shouldn't take away from Cameron's performance, though. She was light on her feet, fired off quick combinations, her shot selection was good, she was poised, she was composed, especially given this was her first world title fight, and she was 9 years the younger lady in there as well. And it reminded me a lot, actually, of when Lee Selby won his IBF featherweight title against Evgeny Gradovich. Just the way it wasn't spectacular necessarily. It wasn't dynamic, but it was pretty masterful or mistressful. I don't know if you can say that, but either way, it was a very good performance from Cameron. But the Brazilian, who came in, I think it's like 5 3/4 pounds overweight, so couldn't win the title anyway, produced a performance that was in sync with that lack of professionalism, I would say. And I don't want to be too harsh on her. I actually started to feel quite bad for her after the halfway point when she was just kind of plodding forward into, rapid fire combinations on a regular basis. But hey, this is a beginning, not an end of the Chantelle Cameron story. She could still go down to lightweight. She only weighed in, I think, 137 for this. So could still go down to lightweight and quite quickly become a 2-weight world champion. The talent and the application are certainly there. And credit to Jamie Moore in the corner, his latest world title victory. So well done to them. And just some quick notes on the undercard before I forget. John Hedges looked quite lucky to win his pro debut. 6'5" super middleweight southpaw with Matchroom SJAM Boxing, of course. Went up against an unsung losing record opponent in, is it Jan Adona, something like that. I have to double check it. But yeah, just a terrible decision. He got it 3-1 in rounds, 39-37 on the referee Ian John Lewis's scorecard. I think if you were being kind to Hedges, you could say 2-2, maybe just about a draw. But there's no way the opponent lost that fight, or should have lost that fight, in my view. I thought Linus Udofia was very impressive in what was the best fight of the night in terms of competitive action. I thought against John Harding Jr., Pesta. It kind of toed and froed a bit, but I think ultimately Udofia was a bit more polished and more consistent with his work rate as well. Harding Jr. preferred to fight in bursts, and he did trouble Udofia on a few occasions during the fight. But ultimately, Udofia pulled through and got the stoppage. I think it was round 9, but I'll have to double check that. But well-deserved victory in the end. Harding Jr. looked tired and started to lack ideas from maybe round 6, round 7. But as usual, typically brave, gutsy performance from him, and he can come again. But for Udofia, we hope, or I hope, that's a springboard to a bigger profile now and bigger fights. Liam Williams defending the British title next week. Won't hold on to it forever. He's got a world title shot pending, so Udofia very much in that mix. I think Danny Dignam's the mandatory for that belt, but very much in the mix now, Udofia. Aqib Fiaz, the delayed fight with Kane Baker. Fiaz proved the class above. Baker, very persistent, dogged, had some success, especially in the last 2 rounds. But Fiaz, great lateral movement, punch picking, just looked very poised for someone who's not had that many pro fights yet. I think he's now like 6-0, something like that. I'll have to double check. The Savage, Alan Babic, claimed another victim. Typical Babic performance, all action, got rid of Niall Kennedy, who was brave but outgunned early in the 3rd round after a single knockdown. And I think that's all the fights on the show. And I hope I haven't missed any. If I have, I'll be kicking myself later. But hey, got to meet the deadline. So yeah, really appreciate your time. Please comment on the show below. Not this show that you're watching right now, but the Buatsi Calic show. Let me know what you thought, what fights you enjoyed the most, where does Buatsi go from here, etc. And I will see you next time, probably tomorrow, for Reflections on Monday, where I'll be talking a lot about the same sort of thing. Thanks very much, and I will see you soon. Cheers.